Okay, so what if the life you're living right now is only half a life? It's a pretty intense thought, right? Well, the poet Khalil Gibran, he threw down that exact challenge.
I want you to ask yourself, for real, are you living half a life? Just let that sink in for a second, because your answer, whatever it is the key to everything we're about to unpack. And Gibran kicks things off with this line, this command that just hits you right in the chest. Do not love half-lovers. And listen, it's not just about romance. He's talking about rejecting any kind of connection in our lives that's incomplete, partial, or hesitant. The wishy-washy stuff.
All right, so this whole idea of refusing to accept incomplete leads us straight into our first section. Gibran calls it the trap of halves, and this is where he starts pointing out all the subtle ways we might be settling for less than whole, a lot of times without even noticing we're doing it.
And right away, he takes this idea and applies it to our friendships. Look, he's not talking about your casual buddies. He's talking about those people who are only halfway there for you. You know the ones, the uncommitted, the unreliable, the fair-weather friends. Gibran's basically saying, nope, seek out and be a whole, genuine friend.
But he doesn't just stop with people. Gibran takes this exact same standard and points it at everything we do, everything we consume. We're talking art, work, ideas, the whole shebang. He's telling us to demand excellence, to only engage with stuff that comes from real, full-on passion, not some half-hearted effort.
So you can see where this is going, right? From relationships to our work, he zooms the lens way out to the biggest thing of all, life itself. And this is the central warning. He's saying, don't just go through the motions. Don't be a ghost in your own story, only partially present for your own existence.
And then he drops the hammer. He wraps up this opening part with the ultimate consequence. A half-life, he says, leads to a half-death. Just think about that. Passing away without ever having truly, fully lived. It's such a stark, powerful image of regret. Wow.
Okay, so this idea of wholeness isn't just about what we do. It's also about what we say. Which brings us to our next section, the cost of half words. This is all about the price we pay when we lack integrity in our communication, both in what we say and maybe even more importantly, in what we don't.
So Gibran lays out two options here, like two sides of the same coin. You've got silence and you've got speech. And he basically demands that we commit 100% to whichever one we choose. His point? Don't just talk to fill the empty space. And definitely don't stay quiet when you've got something real to say. The key word here is be intentional.
And not being intentional? Oh, it has real consequences. Just think about it in your own life. The difference between a clear, honest no and one of those hesitant, well, maybe kinds of answers. Gibran's saying that a wishy-washy no isn't really a no at all. It's basically a weak yes that just creates confusion, and honestly, it chips away at your own integrity. And that brings us to one of his most powerful lines on this whole topic. It's a huge call for us to have absolute clarity, to have the courage of our convictions. It's that old saying, right? Say what you mean and mean what you say. Whether it's a yes or a no, own it.
So, moving on from our words, Gibran argues that taking half measures in anything we do creates what he calls the illusions of the half-lived. He uses these really simple, concrete examples to show us that going halfway isn't just not enough. It's completely pointless.
I mean, think about it. It's so logical. A half a glass of water isn't going to quench your thirst. Half a meal won't stop you from being hungry. Walking half the way to your destination, well, you're still not there, are you? Gibran's point is that these things feel like progress, but they're just illusions. In reality, partial effort gets you zero, nothing.
And he takes this same logic right into our minds. A half-truth, he says, isn't some kind of stepping stone to the real truth. No, it's actually a form of deception. He's warning us about how dangerous it is to just accept incomplete stories, incomplete information.
And this logic, it goes all the way to our biggest hopes for the future. He's begging us not to dream halfway, not to hold back on our ambitions. Because if you think about it, a half-dream is basically an admission of defeat. It's an aspiration that you've already decided deep down is never going to happen.
Okay, get ready because we've arrived at the absolute core of this entire message. This is the big pivot. The central revelation of the whole thing. Section 4. Your other half is you.
And here it is. This is such a radical shift in perspective. You know how society is always telling us to go out and find our other half, to find that one person who completes us? Well, Gibran just throws that whole idea out the window. He says, nope,
The wholeness you're searching for, that part of you that feels like it's missing, it's already inside of you.
So what even is wholeness then? It's not about finding someone else to fill a gap. Gibran's definition is so simple and so profound. Wholeness is just the state of being yourself, fully and completely. It's what happens when you stop living your life like you're only a fraction of a person.
Okay, so if wholeness is already inside us, the big question is, how do we actually access it? How do we get there? Well, that's what our final section is all about, embracing a whole life. This is the practical part. How do we actually make that shift from being half to being whole?
First, Gibran defines this half-life with this just haunting list of regrets. Things like a word you never said, a smile you held back, a love you didn't pursue, a friendship you never knew. It's that feeling of always reaching but never quite arriving. You're there, but you're not really there. You're working, but not really working.
But here's the turn. Here's the message of hope. Being half isn't who you are. It's not a permanent identity. Gibran calls it a mere moment of inability. See that? Just a moment. It's temporary. And the most important part is, he reminds us that we have the power to move beyond it. You are able.
And this is the bedrock truth that he wants us to really truly get. Your fundamental nature is not to be incomplete. You are not born as half a person. That's not your factory setting.
And this brings us to the powerful conclusion. The whole point of this is your purpose. You are a whole being, and you exist to live a life, a full life, not half a life. That is your potential. That is your birthright.
So we end up right back where we started, but with a new question. It's not, are you living a half-life anymore? Now, after all this, the question is, what will your whole life look like? What's one thing you can do, maybe even today, to start claiming that life that's already yours? What does that first step look like for you?